Dear traveler, to understand Morgoth, we must explore his dark origins, his rise to power, his vast influence over the world, and his eventual defeat. Melkor was the most powerful of the Ainur, a race of divine beings created by Eru Ilúvatar, the supreme god in Tolkien's mythology. Melkor was unique among the Ainur because of his unmatched power and desire to create and control. During the music of the Ainur, a harmonious song that shaped the world, Melkor introduced discord, reflecting his growing desire for dominion over Arda, the world. This act of rebellion against Eru Ilúvatar foreshadowed his later fall into darkness. Despite the initial discord, the world was created, and Melkor descended into it, but his aim was to rule it, not to serve it. His pride and ambition to shape the world to his own will led him into conflict with the other Valar, especially Manwë, his brother in thought and spirit. This rivalry would endure throughout the ages as Melkor sought to dominate all of Middle-earth. Melkor's desire for control soon led him down a dark path. While the other Valar and Maiar worked to prepare the world for its inhabitants, Melkor constantly undermined their efforts. He disrupted their works, brought chaos to the shaping of lands, and marred the beauty of the newly created world. This earned him the enmity of the Valar, particularly Ulmo, the Lord of the Seas, and Aule, the smith who shaped the mountains. As his jealousy and malice grew, Melkor became increasingly obsessed with power and dominance. He turned away from the light and the harmony of creation, desiring to possess and corrupt what he could not create. This is when he truly became Morgoth, the dark enemy of the world. His lust for control led him to create vast armies of twisted creatures, including Balrogs, who were corrupted Maiar, dragons, and most infamously, Orcs, which he allegedly created by corrupting elves. Morgoth's most significant act of evil was his role in the theft of the Silmarils, 3 brilliant and holy jewels crafted by Fëanor, the greatest of the elven smiths. The Silmarils contained the light of the 2 trees of Valinor, and Morgoth coveted them greatly. After spreading lies and causing dissension among the elves, Morgoth attacked Valinor, killed Fëanor's father, Finwë, and stole the Silmarils. With the Silmarils in his possession, Morgoth fled to Middle-earth, where he fortified his stronghold in the fortress of Angband in the north, guarded by his loyal Balrogs and other creatures of darkness. He placed the Silmarils in his iron crown, solidifying his claim as the Dark Lord. The theft of the Silmarils sparked the great wars between Morgoth and the elves, which defined much of the First Age. The First Age is largely defined by the wars waged against Morgoth, known as the Wars of Beleriand. After fleeing to Middle-earth, Morgoth unleashed his forces upon the elves and men. The elves, led by Fëanor and his sons, waged a relentless campaign to recover the Silmarils. However, Morgoth's might was immense, and his armies of orcs, dragons, and balrogs ravaged the lands of Beleriand. The greatest of these battles included the Dagor Bragolach, or the Battle of Sudden Flame, where Morgoth unleashed rivers of fire upon his enemies, and the Nirnaeth Arnediad, the Battle of Unnumbered Tears, which ended in a crushing defeat for the elves and their allies. Despite their valor, the combined forces of elves, men, and dwarves could not stand against Morgoth's overwhelming power. One of Morgoth's most cunning moves was corrupting men, particularly those who came under his shadow and served him. This divide between the elves and men created tensions that Morgoth exploited for his benefit. However, there were some among men who resisted his influence, most notably the House of Hador, the ancestors of Húrin and Túrin, whose tragic fates were entwined with Morgoth's malice. One of Morgoth's most infamous acts was his capture and torture of Húrin, a mighty warrior of men. After the defeat of the elves and men at the Nirnaeth Arnoediad, Húrin was captured and brought before Morgoth. In his cruelty, he cursed Húrin and his descendants, ensuring that their lives would be filled with tragedy and suffering. This curse played out through the story of Turin Turambar, Húrin's son, whose life was marked by loss, betrayal, and doom, all under Morgoth's shadow. Morgoth's curse on Húrin's family is one of the darkest and most personal examples of his evil. It showcased his sadistic nature, as he took pleasure in not just conquering lands and races, but in breaking the wills and spirits of individuals. The curse of Morgoth lingered long after his fall and was a symbol of the deep malice and corruption he brought into the world. Despite his immense power, Morgoth's tyranny could not last forever. The Valar, seeing the devastation he caused, finally intervened. At the request of Erendil, a half-elven mariner who sailed to Valinor to plead for aid, the Valar launched the War of Wrath. This war saw the Valar and their forces, including the powerful Maiar and the elves of Valinor, confront Morgoth in his stronghold of Angband. The War of Wrath was the most catastrophic conflict in Middle-earth's history, with entire lands sunk beneath the sea. Morgoth's armies were decimated, his dragons were defeated, and Angband was stormed. In the end, Morgoth was captured by the Valar. As punishment for his rebellion and destruction, he was bound with the chain Anginor and cast into the void, a timeless, empty expanse outside the world, from which he could not escape. Although Morgoth was defeated and cast out of the world, his shadow lingered long after his fall. His influence continued through his lieutenant Sauron, who would rise as the next Dark Lord in the Second and Third Ages. Sauron's desire to dominate Middle-earth and create the One Ring can be seen as a continuation of Morgoth's original rebellion. Morgoth's evil also had lasting consequences on the world itself. His corruptions left deep scars on Middle-earth, from the twisted creatures he created to the lingering fear and darkness that permeated the land. Even after his defeat, the world was never quite the same, and the elves, men, and dwarves continued to struggle with the legacy of his malice and ambition. That concludes our history into the Dark Lord Morgoth. Until next time, stay strong against the rising darkness. The vault is now closed.